This is a very old fuel pump from my E36, and this is a lovely new fuel pump for my E36. And in today's video, I'm going to show you how to remove one of these and install one of these. Let's get to it. So the first thing you're going to want to do is remove the seat, because the fuel pump is under here. Now this seat has been out before. I had to remove a tracker and I've never been able to clip it back in, but under normal circumstances there'd be two clips clipped in here, this one here and this one here, and then you just pull up hard and it comes out. As I say, this one's already been done, and then it's just a case of sort of wrestling out the base of the seat. There is a sort of technique to it. Like this, there we go. And then you can see there would normally be the clip interfaces into this metal pin here, or metal bar here, and the clip is here and here, and then our fuel pump is just under there. So let's get this out and then we can get on with the job of changing the fuel pump. So with the rear bench out of the way, we then get our first access to the fuel pump. This is that clip where the bench would have, or mounting point where the bench would have clipped in, and then you've just got a piece of rubber here that you fold back, and then we've got 4 Phillips or posi drive screws here to get to the electrical connection for the fuel pump. Now it's good practice to disconnect your battery when doing this job. Obviously we're dealing with fuel. This car's got an immobiliser on which fuel cuts the power to the fuel pump, so there will be no power going through here. I've checked it previously. But if you're in any way uncertain, do disconnect your battery, and then it's just a case of pulling this cover off. Just once you lift this cover off, what we can then see underneath is the fuel pump itself. We've got 2 electrical connectors here and here. One of those is for power and one of those is for reporting the fuel level from the fuel level sender. So someone's been in here before because one of these clips is broken on the side, but pinch your clips together and then just wiggle and pull out, and there we go. They're shaped differently, so you cannot get them wrong, but white at the top, black at the bottom in this case. Okay, with that out of the way, let's get them far away from the fuel tank. What we then need to do is disconnect these 2 hoses here. As I mentioned, someone's been in here before because these are non-standard connectors, but that does make them much easier to undo. So flathead screwdriver in this case, and then just undo these Jubilee clips. Now some of the there's definitely going to be a bit of petrol here. I'm wearing safety goggles as well, just to be on the safe side. I should be wearing gloves. Let's go and grab those in a second. So let's just, they're just, once the Jubilee clips are loose, it's just then a case of freeing them off. Let's just remove that sealing ring that obviously needs replacing. So just pull that up and just tuck it out of the way. And that's our pipes off. A little bit of fuel spillage to be expected. The next thing we need to do then is undo this lock ring. Now there is a dedicated tool for undoing this, but there's another way of doing it that I've seen a lot of other people use, just involving a hammer and a cold chisel or a screwdriver. So here I've got a cold chisel and here my hammer, and then I'm just going to sort of start tapping away. And as you can see, it's turning. So just keep chipping away at it until it frees up properly. And then after a while, there should be enough now to be able to undo that by hand. Now, one thing I've done, which I should have told you to do, which I didn't do myself, was mark before you start undoing things where this sealing ring is, so that you could get it back into the correct location. A schoolboy error on my part. But then once we undo this ring, what we can do is then, and as you move the pipes out of the way, you can lift the ring out like that, and then effectively your pump is free. So if I give that a wiggle, there we go. So the pump is coming up. So we can now remove that pump. One other bit of advice I'd give you is try wherever possible to have your car with a very low fuel level. because we are now about to expose the tank, and the lower the fuel level, the less likely there is to be splashing and so on. This car currently has about half a tank of fuel, which is probably a bit too much. I mean, it doesn't stop us doing the job, but it would be better if it was below a quarter. So for the actual removal of the fuel pump, what I suggest you do is get something to put the fuel pump in my case, a nice bright green bucket. There's going to be a bit of fuel that comes out with it when we remove it from the tank. So just keep those pipes to one side and then just slowly lift the pump out. It doesn't come out straight. There are a couple of things in there, and there's also a rubber ring, which is the sealing ring, which I find helpful to remove that as you lift the pump up and bring that out with it. Goggles are steaming up. It's annoying. It's always a little bit tricky. You need to just manipulate the level sender. And there we go, there's our fuel pump. Right, let's pop that in our bucket and go and get the new one. One thing I always like to do is just put that flat back over, just so that nothing can fall in while we're doing some other work. So with a common part like a fuel pump, there's lots of aftermarket manufacturers. Obviously I've gone for a Hella unit. This original unit, which you just pulled out of the car, is made by a company called Geber, I think you call it, Geber, G-E-B-E-R. It's got a BMW badge on it just up here and the BMW part number. I'd had a look at it previously just to get the part number off, but it seems it's very common to the E36 platform, not just 325i's like my car. But I've gone with the Hella. I could have obviously gone to the dealer and paid an absolute fortune for one, but this was £55 delivered from Amazon EU. Like a lot of my E36 parts, it doesn't seem to come out of the UK, it seems to come out of Germany, I assume. And what I want to do here is just check that everything is exactly visually the same as with the other fuel pump. Just having a look inside, we've got that sealing ring that we removed, that fits just under here. So good to get that replaced as well. I'm pleased to report that it does look almost identical to the other one. All the connectors are in the right place, the input for the pipes is in the right place and in the right orientation. Everything looks exactly as it should. So I think we're good to go. We're getting this installed. So let's get it prepped and get it ready and in the car. So the fuel pump's now prepped. I fitted this sealing ring around there. I've removed the tape that was holding that together, and I've removed the plastic bag on here. So then it is just a case of refitting it, remembering of course that it doesn't go straight in and you have to wiggle it. So just a case again of moving those pipes out of the way. And based on how I removed it, I sort of get the sender in and under the lid, under the lip, and then just ease it in gently like this. Again, nice and slow, try not to splash anything. Just take your time, there we go. And then just making sure that all the pipes are out of the way, or the two pipes are out of the way, just compress down on that sealing ring. I think what I'm going to do is remove that sealing ring from the pump itself and just seat it in properly, because it's getting caught, because it's obviously new and it's nice and kind of sticky. So that ring is now installed on the main part of the fuel tank, and then we should be able to then put the fuel pump in and it'll be a bit of a better fit. There we go. Right, that's slotted in nicely and just covered myself with fuel. That's why you should wear gloves, James. Silly. See, before I do that, I'm going to clean up that fuel. It's going to smell for days if you don't clean stuff like this up. So, we need to do though, before we do the pipes as well, is make sure we get the sealing ring on, because you won't get that on with the pipes on. Do it up as much as you can by hand. And then put the pipes on. tighten those. And then putting safety goggles back on, let's tighten this up. Let's just make sure I've done as much as I can by hand. And there we go. So just let's make sure our ring is nice and tight, our Jubilee clips are tight, but let's just check. Yeah, good. A bit more on that one. Yeah, that's good. And then what we need to do is reinstall. I must get a new one of these, but I don't have one currently. And then what you need to do is remake your connections here using our black and white connectors. Now remember, black at the bottom, white at the top, but you can't get it wrong. And there we go. Let's put that way. And then just a case of getting our 4 Phillips screws in here and then putting our seat back. And there we go, job done. Now just before I put the seat back, I'm going to go for a start just to make sure that everything is working as we'd expect. So remember that immobiliser I talked about right at the beginning of the video? Well, look, we've got to turn that off. There we go. And now we should be good for a start. That's the fuel pump just priming. There we go. Seems to be working fine. So the final step on this video then is to get this seat back in. As I mentioned before, I'd had it out before, I've done it once or twice and I've never managed to clip it back. So let's try and finish the job once and for all. Here we go, that's come in nicely. I think the problem before was just to line these clips up. Ah, there we go, that one's clipped in. So you just really have to push a lot in that direction to get the clips together. So that one side has just gone in really nicely. It's just here. Let's try and get this one in. Oh, so close. Anyway, you get the idea. Oh, is that it? Oh, maybe this one's just a bit loose. I think that one's just loose and it comes up really easily because that's now staying in. Good, finally, after all those months. So there we go guys, that's how to replace your fuel pump in your E36. Links in the description below for the new part. I'll also put the part number of this one that I've removed so you can do any cross-referencing. Regarding this pump, it was actually still working, but what it was happening was after an hour or so of driving, basically when the pump had got hot, it was beginning to really screech and make a terrible noise. Clearly the actual pump unit is on the way out. The sender, I think, is probably absolutely fine. So I'm going to break this one down and see if I can get this one rebuilt with a new motor. If it's good enough content, I'll make a video on it, but I think this could potentially live on with a new pump in here. As always though, thank you ever so much for watching. If you like this video, do let me know, do send me a comment, do hit like, and I look forward to coming to you in a new video very soon. Thanks and goodbye.